Hi, my name is Brad Nichols. I'm the Senior Manager of Channel Sales and Private Label here at Ooma, and I am going to walk you through Ooma's direct routing for Microsoft Teams offering. I'm just going to give the people a few minutes here to hop on the bridge, the webinar, and then we'll get started in about 60 seconds. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get started here. Again, thank you for joining. So as I start this presentation, I would like to point out Ooma, in terms of our UCaaS services, we're a UCaaS-based type of company, and really we're known for how easy our products are to use, provision, onboard, implement. That is what we're known for across the industry. We take things like provisioning, implementation, which is a huge friction point within our business, and remove those barriers and make it more of an automated approach. We have a couple great B2B UCaaS solutions like Ooma Office and Ooma Enterprise, and really the idea around those having multiple types of platforms is to make sure that we're catering to all types of customers. We can provide a solution no matter the size and type of customer, and also make the experience very good for the customers. They come on board and leaving their old technology behind for new state-of-the-art technology, which will improve their business as they move forward. So Ooma was founded in 2004, and then in 2009 released our first residential tele product, and really Ooma was built from 2004 to 2010 on the residential side, where we saw great success and decided to add to our portfolio, expand our offering to the business community by releasing in 2013, our Ooma Office product, which is our first B2B Office product, which is intentionally built for the SMB to mid-market size type of customer in mind. As we expanded out a little bit more, we continued to expand the portfolio into Ooma Enterprise and adding an enterprise-grade UCaaS solution. We're publicly traded, 900 plus employees, very successful company due to the executive team and their growth strategies and go-to-market strategies, adding the right products in place, which has really expanded Ooma and catapult us into more of a channel-focused type of company. In some cases, around the SMB world, but even more mid-market and enterprise now. So we're very excited about what 2021 and 22 and the future brings. But in terms of our history and where we've come from, we've been successful at every aspect of no matter what product that we release, and we look to continue that success moving forward. A big part of that success that I was mentioning before, again, was based on picking the right products and go-to-market strategies. And we feel Microsoft Teams is a product that is impossible to overlook. It's really taken over the market share in terms of adding another quality type of UCaaS, Unified Communications as a service solution, hosted VoIP solution, but yet integrated within the Office 365 community all through one window. So what I was explaining to some people here, maybe why we'd want to look at selling Microsoft Teams, the reason most importantly is because there's so many O365 users in the world. The majority of Office users or offices across the globe are using Microsoft Office Suite one way or another. So with that said, and how how well Teams has adapted to that environment and the transition from O365, traditional O365 over to Teams, within, you got to realize Teams was released in 2019. So these numbers are even a little bit outdated. You're looking north of 130 million users within less than 2 years. If you compare that to a product like Slack from 2015 to 19 or 20, they added 16 million users. So there's no comparison when getting into the Microsoft ecosystem and what that can do for your business or individual sales reps or whatever that might be, is that it's a product in an industry that sells itself. Now, is it the right product across the board for every customer? And that's an exercise that we'd have to go through the sales discovery process. With that said, we're very happy to be in the position that we are as a direct routing partner with Microsoft and feel that it's going to be a big part of Ooma's growth over the next coming years. So what is Microsoft Teams? From 20,000 feet, Microsoft Teams is a collaboration platform. Ooma is definitely in the business of providing voice, UCaaS, unified communication, but typically communication voice products historically. Microsoft Teams offers more than just the voice side of things. It's a collaboration platform made with the ability to consolidate all the applications in Office 365 into one view, one single pane of glass, as they say. Why that's important is because there's a lot of applications in Office 365. There's a lot of different ways before Teams was released that companies had to build and find ways to collaborate with each other. So if you want to now use a condensed view, a single pane of glass again, for all of your instant messaging, your file sharing, SharePoint documents, OneDrive documents, video, even phone system, Microsoft Teams has solved that issue as a company, and that is why it's so well thought of these days across the board, especially specific to people that have used Microsoft products, which is the majority of people out in the world over the years, is that it really solved the problem that they were going through, and then we probably personally went through as well, is how do I access files quicker? How do I collaborate with my team better? How do I turn a 5-minute call into a 2-minute call? How does it take me 30 seconds to grab this file? Now it takes me 10 seconds. You compound that across the board over hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of users. Well, you're saving a lot of time and you're adding a lot of value to businesses. So Ooma Direct Routing for Teams. What Direct Routing provides customers the ability to do is to connect to the outside PSTN through the Teams calling applications. Without direct routing in place, every customer would just be using Teams for internal calls. Once you add the ability for direct routing, now you have the ability to talk to customers and other employees, 10-digit dialing, inbound calls, much more traditional to what we see in the UCaaS world. So direct routing, again, gives customers and everybody else the ability to route calls to the outside public switch telephone network. So how does Microsoft Teams direct routing work? Well, that's a good question. So the components really start as is, imagine that you're over all the way on the right in the Microsoft Teams as a user. To connect direct routing in terms of what it really is, it's a SIP trunk. So the SIP trunk would go out of the Microsoft Teams calling into a session border controller, which Ooma is hosting, and we are using AnyNode SBC to deliver that function. The SIP trunk goes into the SBC, then routes to the PSTN. Now, that is the basic function of how direct routing works. So similar to what may be a premise-based system type of setup, is it becomes more of a SIP model versus a traditional UCaaS model per seat. With that said, Microsoft Teams is a UCaaS solution. So what makes it a little bit confusing, again, is that in every other instance of Ooma's unified communication solutions, Ooma Enterprise, Ooma Office, we are hosting those solutions and connecting that to the outside world. In this case, only Microsoft is hosting Teams, so they are allowing third-party companies direct routing to deliver the PSTN to their customers. So what Ooma Dialing within Teams would give you once the direct routing has been set up is the ability to make and take phone calls from anywhere in the world. Whereas before direct routing is set up, you're really doing only internal calls, but you don't have a 10-digit phone number. There's no conference bridge dial-in number. Is that once Ooma Dialing within Teams is set up, then customers have the ability to use this platform as their phone system replacement. The benefits of Ooma for Microsoft Teams is Ooma has 2.5 million endpoints on our platform. We pass and traverse a lot of traffic. We have a very, very stable voice network spread across 7 data centers over the globe. The advantage of all of that means that we do voice very well. We always have. We have crystal clear call quality. And what that means for our customers is that they're going to experience the same thing moving forward. Not all providers are equal. Not everybody invests the same amount of money into their infrastructure on the back end. In addition, we are priced incredibly flexible. I don't know of any provider out there that has more aggressive pricing than Ooma's direct routing pricing. And we have various ways that we can charge the customer to be a little bit more flexible and cater to the type of not just company that they are, but in terms of how they use their phone system. Are they a heavy outbound dialing company, inbound, whatever it might be, we have a solution in place that will really benefit from a cost point of view and also a feature set point of view. So when it comes to onboarding, we've set up our own proprietary software to make the onboarding process a lot easier and sync users from one world to the other, O365 to Ooma. And when you put all that together, it makes the experience much, much better for the customer. So not only is Ooma delivering crystal clear voice quality throughout the process and throughout each call, it also gives you the ability to make and take calls from any device. And even international is not too difficult for us. We have a flat rate to 27 international countries. We think very aggressively priced. And what that does is give customers the ability in those mid-market enterprise companies who have locations overseas and understanding that, we'll work with you on your telco costs. We're not doing this to drive, so much cost overseas. And in addition, we will be adding even more data centers overseas within 2021 and 2022 as we expand the international reach, which is today a lot more than a lot of other of our competitors can offer. So we're very excited about the type of voice quality that we're delivering and also where we can deliver that voice quality today. So we must spend time building some of our own proprietary software, making the onboarding process a little bit smoother for our customers, helping customers sync numbers back and forth between O365, assigning different direct routing trunks, certain syncing names between O365 and our platform. These things are very important because if you look at what Teams conceptually is, it's Office 365. That is the biggest component which Teams resides in, meaning that we have to be able to sync our world back and forth between O365 and our Ooma Enterprise platform, which is the underlying technology of Ooma's Teams offering. So this just makes the frictionless experience that I was speaking to before much smoother for the customer. It also saves on time and makes things a lot easier for our provisioning team when setting up new customers. So I'm not going to read each feature and what feature is provided by Ooma's direct routing for Microsoft Teams offering verbatim. But what I will say is that it's an exercise of understanding what features come from what side, meaning Ooma is using, as I mentioned before, the Ooma Enterprise platform as the underlying PBX solution to deliver direct routing. In some cases, we're going to be using Microsoft Teams and the features that reside within Teams versus using those features inside of the Ooma Enterprise platform. For example, you have a feature like an auto attendant or a hunt group. Now, you could use Ooma Enterprise's auto attendant and hunt group and deliver that within Teams. It's a call flow feature, so it sits kind of behind the scene. So in some cases, we can decide, hey, depending on the types of routing that customers want to do, we have an option of leveraging that feature either within Teams or within Ooma Enterprise platform. So it gives us a little more flexibility, and also options are always a good thing because no two customers are the same, no two requests are the same, and we want to make sure that we cater to all the needs of any customer, no matter how big or small they might be. One of the most appealing things about Ooma's direct routing for Microsoft Teams is our price points. We don't lead with price as sales in our organization. We like to, really make sure customers, partners, whatever it might be, understand the value of what it is that we're offering and how it's going to impact your business. Also, we want to make sure that there's a discovery process to see if Teams to ensure that Teams is the right solution. In some cases, I have sold Teams in the past where customers really, think they're going to move their whole entire communications over to that platform. Ends up being a little bit of a different story once we go through the feature set, the deliverables, and in terms of how they want that executed and set up. With that said, when it comes to pricing, we're never going to be priced out of a deal. So we even offer a couple variations of how we can deliver our direct routing. One would be a bundled, which is an unlimited local long distance, US and Canada per user for $8.95. And that is the most traditional way that you're going to see direct routing sold, which is a per user type of model. But anybody who sold SIP trunking in the past can tell you that no company in the world has 100% of their employees on the phone at one time. So it only makes sense to add an unbundled version where we can sell more of a traditional call path model, meaning you have 100 people in an office, maybe we sell you 30 direct routing call paths, and then we'll charge you $2.95 each for the Teams integration. So that would be $9.95 for the call path and then $2.95 per user for the Teams integration. And these types of models provide customers with options based off of how much call volume they're using. So if they're a heavy call volume type of organization, unlimited might make a little bit more sense. They don't have to worry about hitting capacity on call paths. If they don't use the phone, they're not on the phone as aggressively as a sales organization or staffing firm, for example, then maybe the call path model would make a little bit more sense financially. So as I mentioned before, our international flat rate to 27 countries is very aggressive. We sell buckets of minutes prepaid. 1,000 minutes will cost you $10. So the reason we do the prepaid minutes is because it's much easier to determine the types of minutes that customers are using. It also gives us more of a forensic look inside of their day-to-day use to make sure that we're not overselling or underselling those capabilities so that the price points are where they're supposed to be. In terms of the countries that we provide flat rates to, they are listed right here. And I would say they're all the major countries that people would call. If a country were to fall outside of one of the 27 countries, no worries. We just have our individual international rates. Again, this will be expanded over time as we add more data centers in 2021 and 2022, which is definitely an initiative of Ooma. So very excited about the international capabilities. We feel it's one of the things that sets us apart from the competitors and certainly helps us build those types of enterprise and mid-market deals moving forward. So Ooma has the ability to tailor-make solutions specific for customers, and that is something that I think a lot of companies say on the market today. So what that really means is we can deliver and fill the missing feature gaps from what Teams cannot offer to make sure that we provide that frictionless experience for the customer. It doesn't do the customer any good if they migrate their services off to a new platform and they're missing 20-30% of the features that they were using. So how do you fill in those missing feature gaps? What are they? That comes as a part of the discovery in terms of what that looks like. We also can consult on what Microsoft O365 licensing they should have, help them do a cost comparison breakdown. We're not a CSP today. Maybe that is something we grow into over time. But what that means is that it's a true consulting type of sale, that we have no skin in the game when it comes to your O365 licensing. We're simply just going to tell you what you need in place to have direct routing to make sure that the solution works the way that it should. So just to wrap things up, thank you very much for taking the time to hop on. We really do look forward to speaking with you at some point. Keep in mind that Ooma is a 24/7, 7-day-a-week type of company. We have built this company on the focus of all types of customers, mainly small to medium-sized businesses, and we are now being thrusted into that mid-market to enterprise type of customer because of the solutions that we've added on, which we're very excited about. But the point really is that if we can be thought of as a thought leader and a product leader in the SMB community, that means that that'll really just bleed down to all the other types of businesses, no matter what size. Is that, if you're successful in the SMB world, you can be successful in any world. We don't look at any deal size too big or too small. We want to understand what the needs are of the customer and really be your consultant to ensure that you have the right solution in place. In some cases, that might be Microsoft Teams. In some cases, that might be Ooma Office. In some cases, that might be Ooma Enterprise. With that said, we'll get you to the right spot. And then in terms of follow-up, and we'll be sending out contact information. We look forward to hearing from you at some point, and what we're going to do now is probably starting to jump into some questions, which I'm happy to answer. Thank you again for your time, and have a great day. So please, if you don't mind, type your questions in. Feel free and ask them. I'm happy to answer them any which way. If you would like to set some time aside afterward to ask more questions, happy to do so. Send out my contact info so you can reach me. But we look forward to answering your questions. So please feel free and ask any question you'd like. Thank you again for your time.